So the Dallas Mavericks just beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And, hey man, look, I ain't gonna lie. It's Luka's time. You know, Jokic had his last year. Giannis got his a few years ago. It's Luka Doncic's time now. It's the Don's time. Listen, man, with Luka on this team, how do you even guard him? Like, honestly, how do you guard Luka Doncic at this point? Because with Derrick Jones Jr., with Derek Lively, with Daniel Gafford, you have, for the first time since Luka has been in this franchise, he actually has legitimate rim pressure players. And so now because of that, and because Luka is like 6'7", 6'8", and can make any pass in the world, if you're not playing drop coverage on him, Derrick Jones Jr. is running to the basket. Derek Lively, who just set a screen for him, is rolling towards the basket. Or Daniel Gafford is rolling towards the basket. And now he just has an easy pass to one of these three guys that are going to get a dunk, a layup, they're going to get fouled, or the defense is going to collapse in on them, and suddenly the ball is being passed out to PJ Washington or is being passed out to Josh Green. Sometimes it's even being passed out to Kyrie Irving somehow. And so now, especially since you're Rudy Gobert and you're pretty much the only real backline help on this team, because Karl Anthony Towns just isn't a good rim protector, now you have to play drop coverage. You just have to. But this is Luka Doncic that you're playing drop coverage against. Because now he gets his screen set. He gets around Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels is now on his back. Rudy's all the way pushed towards under the basket. So now Luka can just hit a floater. He can pull up for an easy little mid-range. And when you have games like you had today where Luka is struggling early on in the first and second quarters, because you're playing drop coverage and he gets these easy looks at the basket, especially when Rudy isn't out there, like if it's Nas Reed or Karl Anthony Towns, now Luka feels comfortable to just go lay the ball up on him. And when he's struggling early on like he was in this game, when you play drop coverage later on in the games and he starts hitting these easy shots, now he's in a rhythm. And now you get instances like him just pulling up from deep with Jaden McDaniels in his face. Him passing up a wide open three just to hit a step back on Anthony Edwards. And again, when he's calling for these screens, you can't hedge, you can't trap, you can't do any of that because again, Luka is 6'8" and can make every pass in the world. So somebody's going to get an easy look at the rim or you're going to create a wide open three by doing that. And then even if you do decide to do something like just crowd him the second he passes half court and make someone else beat you, he's got Kyrie Irving on the other side of the court who can cook you just as good as Luka can. And then you mess around and give all of these guys too much attention. Now you have PJ Washington going off. Now you have all these other guys getting their easy looks. And now you're just getting scored on from all ends. So how do you even guard this team? I mean, look, man, this Minnesota team is still very, 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 very good defensively. They're going to have some games where they slow down Luka and Kyrie enough to be able to, win a couple of games. But are they going to be able to do it enough to win 4 after just dropping game 1 at home? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, this is just Luka's world. It's time. And then to actually talk about the Timberwolves a little bit, I think the number one most worrying thing for this Minnesota team right now is that Anthony Edwards has had 3 really bad games in his last 4 games. I mean, Anthony Edwards tonight created almost no rim pressure whatsoever and put up the majority of his shots and makes from beyond the 3-point line and only scored 19 points on 6 of 16 shooting. And you go back to game 7 of the last series, I think he went like 6 of 24, had a really good game 6. And then you go back to game 5 where Granted, it was without Mike Conley, but he still greatly struggled in that game. And then there's the fact that Karl Anthony Towns was really bad up until like late in the fourth quarter, where he just started going off for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Like, look, man, I don't care what happens. If these two guys, if Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns aren't both scoring at least 24 points somewhat efficiently in every game, the Timberwolves aren't going to win this series. They might lose in 5 if these two keep on performing like this. Now, what can they do to make sure that these two get back on track? I think the very first thing you got to do is get Anthony Edwards off of Kyrie Irving. Because once it got late in the game, Ant was just absolutely gassed. He was just standing way over the top of the key while everyone else was running the offense. He was really barely able to put in any moves. I know he made that 1-3 while he was gassed, but if you really look at that 3, that looked like a tired man's 3. Like, I understand it's very aesthetically pleasing seeing the best offensive player on the team also turn around and say, hey, I'm going to go guard one of their dudes. I'm going to go guard one of their guys, and I'm going to lock him down. I understand how fun and pleasing that is to look at. Well, not even just look at, how fun that sounds in theory. But we just saw what actually happens when you do that in today's NBA. You get gassed, especially if the guy you're trying to guard is Kyrie Irving. Because Kyrie will work you. Kyrie will have you running all around the court. Then he'll catch the ball. He'll dance on you. He'll drive on you. He'll pass it out. And then that offensive possession ends. And then they're going to come back down two possessions later. And you're just going to start that all over again. On top of the fact that you're literally Anthony Edwards. And you're going to have the ball a lot on your offensive end. And you're going to be doing a lot of dancing yourself. You're going to do a lot of driving. You're going to do a lot of movement. So yeah, put Mike Conley on him. That's the very first thing. And then another thing, Anthony Edwards looked very passive for a lot of this game. Like, he would call for a screen. He'd go around it. He'd get to the foul line and be wide open for an easy little mid-range jumper. And he would go up and then just pass out of it for some odd reason. It happened several times in this game. And again, just to reiterate, he took 16 shots and 12 of them were behind the three-point line. I understand you can shoot, but you're much more valuable to your team and to yourself if you actually work inside of the three-point line more. Drive, hit your mid-ranges. Do all of these besides just tween, pull up. Tween, sidestep, pull up. And then for Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, he's just wildly inconsistent. There's not really anything you can do to make him more efficient at this point. But yeah, that's all of my thoughts on this game one. Yeah, Mavs in 6.